Welcome back, everybody. So we have a special guest. She is a beautiful human being and an associate of this of the upgrade. She is a facilitator here. She's from South Africa. Her name is Altea Lucrezia, and I can't wait for you to meet her. One second.
Hi.
There we go. Hi. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is my absolute pleasure. So for anyone who doesn't know Altia, she is a light language activator. She's a teacher. She's a channeler of beings connected to the Galactic Federation. So welcome to Upgrade.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So today, I understand you'll be channeling some things for us. And I'm sure that the collective would love to hear from the higher beings with regards to what we can expect energetically over the next 6 months. I know I'm pretty keen to to find out. There's certainly been a lot going on in the world, especially energetically over the last 2 weeks. Have you felt that as well?
Yeah, I mean, this year has been a year that's been of shift, of change, of integration. It's the number 8. It's the number of abundance. In my experience, what generally happens is the first few months of the year. So you'll have your January, February, March. It's the tail end of the year before. So a lot of karmic cycles clearing, releasing, letting go. A lot of, new jobs, new relationships ending, jobs ending, and things like that. And then generally when we move into April is the start of the astrological new year. So that's a big shift as well. And what I saw, especially in April and May, was a very intense timeline shift. So what actually went on is, because I sat and I channeled this a few months ago, what went on is the vibration of the planet wasn't necessarily, of humanity and of the planet wasn't where it could have been or where it was supposed. I just say supposed in inverted commas because, there's no wrong or right. We all just navigating our experience. So a lot of people had to clear a lot of things in a very short amount of time so that the frequency of the planet would be kind of like where we're meant to be. So that was quite like a big one. And I know there was a lot of shifting happening with like people traveling and things moving. I don't really follow news. I specifically get told not to follow news just because I have my own channel. So they're like, I follow a few colleagues, but they also like don't really follow a lot of people because it can, we still human, so it can influence as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I saw in April and May. Moving into June, my life personally, I was moving around, but I did feel an energetic anchoring and stability. And then from the tail end of June, moving into July, there was again more shifting, more happening, almost like prepping the systems and the collective for the second part of the year. So I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to step more into the public eye. A lot of people who are doing energy work, who are channelers, healers, who are assisting on a collective level. This is the year of starseed going into mainstream media. That's what's going to happen. And I channeled this at the Conscious Life Expo earlier this year. I know me and a few other people were speaking about it. So that's kind of like what I see from, almost like a collective leadership point. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers the question a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It certainly gives people a lot of hope and a brighter outlook on things. Myself especially. There's been a lot of healers, channelers, and everyone concerned really who are starting to discover their gifts and really not sure what to do with them. It's all you would have known through your awakening and certainly my own. These gifts come online and you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I go read a textbook, which is somebody else's perspective? Or, do I watch a TV? And then you watch the TV, you see the news and you feel like everything's coming down around you, which is also part of the awakening. And yeah, people need guidance, which is why everyone's here for this, upgrade, to get that sort of guidance and support. So.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing, for people like me and you who are speaking publicly is like, being genuine, being like, guys, we move through stuff too. Like, you
Oh yeah,
see people who are, speaking publicly, and they're like, speak about non-attachment and releasing, the attachment to identity and being in unconditional love. And yes, it's all good and amazing and beautiful, but we are here to be human. And for me, the greatest thing that my guides always explain to me is like, sometimes when I'm moving through stuff, I don't really want to share it with my social media, but they're like, share it because it's going to help
yeah,
people. And every
because
time,
it's authenticity.
yeah, exactly. It's authenticity. And every time that happens, it's a further ego integration that you get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is a perfect example. In back at the end of May, I was actually physically assaulted in my car, and I had a window smashed. And I was like, okay, like, guys, what's going on? And then I was told to speak about it publicly. And they explained to me that that needed to happen for a specific clearing of a specific timeline that was present between me and the two people who assaulted me. It was a whole story, but I didn't really feel like talking about it. And they were like, do it, because
Yeah.
people need to see and they need to understand. And that's kind of what it's been like the past, like 8 or 9 years since I've been channeling publicly. It's like I don't
Yeah.
really have a private life energetically. Like, my astral space, I'm working. So I'll wake
Yeah.
up and be like, oh, this happened. Okay, this was cleared. This ley line was gridded. This other one was activated. Let me go on and and speak to the collective about it. And it's beautiful how many people are like, oh wow, actually, yes, yesterday I was also doing this in the astral, and I also felt that, and I also cleared this. So it's really about, yeah, connecting with authenticity.
Oh, exactly right. Because those people prior to you having that conversation felt alone in their experience. So that's why it's so important for just as you said, for us as leaders, but also for spiritual people coming online to be part of a community and reach out in all these ways, so people don't feel alone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. For sure. And everyone's journey is individual, but I mean, there's certain like textbook phases that a lot of people go through. Some people have a more gentle awakening and opening up, and and it's subtle. And some people have those like hard lessons. Like, I was one of
Mhm.
them. I was one who had to, like, hit their head to kind of like learn the lesson, until I learned to listen, until I learned patience, until I learned to operate from a different space. So it's important to understand that life is happening for you and not to you. And I find, and I spoke about this, I was on an interview yesterday as well, and I spoke a lot about this, which seems to be quite a big theme. Just staying in a space of gratitude, waking up in the morning
Oh
and being
yeah.
grateful, for being alive, for being on this journey. And when you anchor into gratitude daily, nothing can really go wrong, because you wake up and you're grateful. So that automatically puts you in a space of abundance, and it automatically puts you in a space where you're like, okay, well, I mean, there's no, I like to see it like this, like, there's no wrongs in life, there's only lessons. So when something happens or you do something and it doesn't go in the way that you expect, again, I put expectations in inverted commas because that's a whole other ball
Hmm.
game with releasing attachment to expectations. But then the lesson is learned, and then you don't do it again, and then you move on, but it was still useful. So I like to to see that there's no wrongs in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gratitude's so important. It is really part of the being open to receive. In fact, I tell everyone that when you're in a state of gratitude, it's actually scientifically impossible for you to feel any other emotion,
Oh
whether
wow.
that be anxiety or depression or whatever. It's gratitude is that strong. It's that important. So yeah, absolutely. I echo that sentiment. Starting your day with that, sort of forming that into your spiritual routine, is really quite fundamental.
Yeah, yeah. Even just waking up and sitting 5 minutes in gratitude every morning, watch your life change in the span of like a week or two.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one thing when people who are going through an awakening start out, they hear that sit in gratitude, and they say the usual things. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for the sunshine. I'm grateful for, and that's great. But um, how you know that you're like, the hardest part is being grateful for those downtimes, for those lessons, for those things that happen to you, because you're realizing that life is working in your favor, even when those bad things happen. So it's recognizing that there's gratitude in the quote unquote negative experiences as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it gets easier. And then if you learn to really listen and be present, then what happens is you start operating from the space of non-attachment and 0 point neutrality. And then you can see all the different options and possible timelines and make the choice that takes you into the highest alignment of, your current timeline and your current experience and your current existence. So I think, yeah, gratitude and speaking your truth, and having your boundaries set. Those two, like if you get those two like nailed down and done really well, everything else sorts itself out,
Mm.
because you're operating from gratitude, but also you're not getting stepped over. Your boundaries are firm. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, but I'm in gratitude and I'm doing this. Why am I not in abundance? And then I'm like, well, how are your boundaries? If your boundaries aren't firm, then you're not going to be able to hold the energetic collective container that then puts you in a space of abundance, because you have leakages, basically.
Mm.
So that's a big one also for this year, I think, especially for those who are, coming out more publicly and, going, on social media or on mainstream media or whatever it is that they want to go with their business. And by the way, guys, try, because it's like, if you don't try, it's not going to happen. So
That's
try.
right. Yeah.
I see that a lot of people they fear, they're scared. Oh my God, what are people going to think? But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Your work will go where it needs to be received, and then from there, kind of like, be sure that you're in integrity and that your boundaries are very firm.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that as well, and a lot of people who are Patreons in my activation station, they've heard me talk about the same thing, that I've had to set some pretty big boundaries over the last few weeks. So it's very interesting that these sorts of things get rippled through the collective. We're all going through the same things. As a collective, it's just slightly different versions, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that you say that, because I see themes. So I work on like a lot of people. Like sometimes I'll have 10 to 12 clients in a day, and then I'll see themes in the weeks. So there'll be like a week where everyone is clearing like through their sinuses and their higher chakras, and everyone's got like a cold. Then there'll be weeks where everyone is dealing with like the mother wound, and then there'll be weeks where everyone is dealing with something that they've been carrying through from ancient Atlantis or Lemuria. So exactly as you said, but there's different nuances of it, and the people navigate them in different ways, but they all, it's almost like, yeah, so they're showing me now, it's like a ripple effect of the same wave.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, which makes me think that it's Earth related as well. It's Gaia related, going through that same thing, which to me makes me think that it is universal, not just isolated to this planet. Because why would it be?
Yeah, of course, for sure, definitely. I mean, the universe is moving through its own lessons, like the Earth is, like the constellations, like the galaxies, like all the
Yeah,
beings out there as well, based on your contracts and what you chose to navigate. You're moving through, and this is also really important, because this is another thing that's come up, especially this week with clients. It's a big theme. Like people come to me and they're like, oh, what do my guides say? What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What's my soul mission? And I'm like, guys, like there is something that is called the law of non-intervention, which means that if I go, and this is valid to any energy worker, if you go to them and they say, oh, your guide said you need to do this, you need to do that, run. Because they're not going to say something like that, because it would
yeah,
be going against your free will and your own sovereignty. So what I like to say to people is, first of all, you're an infinite being of light. You can co-create anything that you want. And I'm also been saying to them, it's easier if you have more precise questions, or things like, what kind of exercise can I do to raise my frequency? Things like that will help you in your journey, and your guides can help you with. If you ask your guides, oh, do I need to go and open a pottery shop or an ice cream shop, they're not going to answer that, because they're not going to be telling you what to do. So this is a very important concept that I think a lot of people are just, not aware of or struggle with.
Oh, absolutely. So for the viewers who don't know you, which will probably be precious few, because you're a household name, at least you are to me anyway. So how did you get into channeling and light language? How did that all come about for you? How did it come online for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been psychic since when I was a
Mhm.
child. I was one of those kids that couldn't sleep because they would see shadows in their room. And it's quite funny because, like, when I became a psychic for a living and started doing this for a living, I was like, to my parents, this is what was going on. And they were like mortified. They were like, oh my God, like, we thought you were just making up stories. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
happening to me. So parents, if you're watching this and you have younger kids, like, please listen to them, and if you
Yeah.
struggle, like, message me on my website and I'll help you, because, like, I know when it comes to, like, children in these situations, it can really affect them,
Of
and
course.
yeah, and then I started with tarots at like 12, so that was quite young. And then my gifts sort of like closed down a little bit into my teens and my early 20s. I come from a long lineage of witches. My mother's psychic, my grandmother was psychic. They don't do psychic work for a living and never have, but they will get prophetic dreaming. My gran is assisting me now from the other side, so she'll come through and help. So that was that. The light language activated around 2017, 2018. That's when I first started channeling. I had a few colleagues who were already channeling light language. I had about like 7 or 8 light language workers all work on me at the same time. We were like in a healing container. So my system was blown open basically. And then for me,
That
like,
sounds like fun.
it was very intense. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm
Wow.
someone who's like, being an Aries, I'm very like, I say something and I'll do it. So then I just started posting videos. When I first started channeling light language online, there were probably like 10 to 20 light language channelers out there. Now there's like tens of thousands,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people in light language. So it's grown exponentially. So that's kind of like how I opened up. I did have a few other experiences and quite like intense encounters with beings that happened as well within that year. So I always say, like, I feel like I've lived 100 lifetimes in just this one here. But
Yeah.
it was all meant to be to prep me, because I had to be in service and assisting the collective when there was a pandemic. So everything needed
Mhm.
to kind of happen before that, and I hadn't gotten to
Yeah.
where I was supposed to get. So the universe was like, lesson, lesson, lesson,
Yeah.
lesson, until I got there and I was ready.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, when you started activating your light language, you started channeling. Um, I guess you would have started like most do, just channeling their higher self, and then went
Yeah,
from there. Yeah.
yeah.
So, who are some of the beings that you channel now?
So it really depends. I channel higher versions of myself. I channel a ninth dimensional Pleiadian being, which is a higher version of myself, and I channel a mantis being as well, which is
Oh,
12
awesome.
dimensional, which is a higher version of myself too. Whenever there's clients, what I'll do is I've got a team of about 300 beings that work with me and assist me on and off. So I'll call in on them, and then I'll call in on the clients, galactic family, higher versions of self, and whoever wants to be present, for the greatest and highest good. And I work with both teams, so it really depends. There'll be times where I will channel beings that are up on ships that are nearby as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be channeling also beings that have, I don't want to say passed on. I don't really do mediumship. I can do it. I don't really do fourth dimensional density channeling,
Yeah.
just because I
Yeah.
like to work in the 5D and up, and
I
it's
get
more of
it.
for me to lower my frequency to do mediumship than actually operate where I'm operating now. But sometimes it does happen if people have passed on and they're in the angelic realms, that they come through. I work with a lot with the angelics, so I work a lot in the angelic realms as well. So yeah, it really just depends. Generally, when I'm channeling for the collective, I will be channeling for my higher version of self. When I'm holding lives, it's quite funny. So I'll do a live on Instagram and there'll be maybe like 300-400 people on and I'll be channeling and I'll have like all their guides and higher selves behind me saying, do this, do that. I want to send person this, I want to send that person that. So what I've learned to do, how I operate, and I spoke about this actually in my previous, when I was at the Expo in February, it's a theory that I've been expanding and working on. The channel also operates on a multidimensional level. So it's not just one channel. It's a channel that expands on a multidimensional level. So the channel that I'll work with collectively is different from my own personal channel when I'm working on myself, which will be different from a channel where I'm working on with a client. But that's taken a few years to kind of master.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's not like a light switch, although we'd all like it to. Speaking of light switches, so in regards, that's a good segue. I should do this professionally. So you obviously have your light language activated. You had that from everything blowing up inside you with that collective circle that you did. Since then, have you been able to activate other people's light language?
Yeah, about 15 to 20% of my clients activate.
Sure. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, isn't this good for the people who are here today?
Yeah. And sometimes they come to me and they just need that extra little push. Sometimes it's a bit more of a process, but I can generally tell quite soon. And again, like guys, you're infinite beings of light. If you want to anchor into light language and express and work with this healing modality, then you can do it.
Sure. So a big part of light language is being able to truly let go and realize that you're safe in actually projecting that. So do you have any advice to people, I guess, or anything that you do maybe or could help with in relation to being able to truly surrender?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I am very big on structure. So I think that being in flow and alignment lies between surrendering to the divine will of the universe and having structure and discipline. So waking up, doing your mantras in the morning, doing a bit of shielding, calling your guides. I mean, like this is the size of my altar, so this is kind of like what I work with every morning. So having an altar space and understanding that all the energy that you put into your spiritual practices is energy that comes back to yourself. So you're not putting it into anything external. And with structure, with practice, with repetition, you build spiritual strength. If every morning you wake up and you call in your guides and you say, I am grateful, and you thank, the crystals, the dragons, the elementals, whatever it is, they're going to keep on coming. They're going to keep on assisting you, and they're going to be even more grounded and present, within your reality, within your experience. So it's up to you kind of like how you want to create it. Everyone has a channel. Everyone has psychic senses. Everyone has their clairs. So working on your clairs, I can give a really good exercise that I think people will really appreciate this, to figure out what clairs are more developed. So you've got your clairalience, your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, your claircognizance, and your and there's another one. There's 5 or 6 clairs, and they correspond to the senses. Okay. And then you have, your claircognizance would be kind of like your innate knowing, which is generally what I tend to operate from. But for you to understand what clairs are more prominent to you. So like for me, when I first started, it was clairvoyance, and then add a little bit of clairsentient, I would like feel. Now I can tune into all of them, but I just use claircognizance because it's easier. So a good exercise that anyone can do is getting into a room, and it can be like a bedroom, a studio, like just a closed room, and sitting in the corner and like quietening your mind and just staring at the room. Like obviously there's no one in there and nothing's going on, but you're just staring and seeing and taking in the room for a few minutes, and then closing your eyes. And once you close your eyes, you then sit back and you're like, okay, what caught your attention? Was it a smell? Was it something you tasted? Was it something you felt? Was it something you heard? And based on that, you can kind of see what Claire is a bit more developed, and then work with that and through that. But we all have psychic intuition. We can all connect to our guides. Like, I'm not special. Like, I've just been doing it more and for longer, so I'm better at it. It's like a sport. You start playing tennis, you're not very good the first year, the second year you're better. The same with psychic
Yeah, I
vision.
mean, it's a muscle. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly like that.
yeah, perfect. So I know that you've got to catch a flight pretty soon. So I want to not take up too much more of your time, other than to hopefully get into the light language activation for people,
Sure.
because I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't want you to miss your flight.
No, that's fine. The light language will be like maybe 7 or 8 minutes or something like that.
Okay, well,
So yeah,
perfect. That's good.
we can start if you want.
Yeah, well, if it's only going to be 7 or 8 minutes, then I've got another question to ask for
Okay.
people who are looking to raise their vibration. Um, what do you feel in regards to, like, maybe simple methods that they can do that? And I know that you spoke about setting that routine and being in gratitude. That's a big part of it, but something they can do on the fly, in day-to-day life. What
Yeah.
do you
So
feel would
the
be most
first thing that
helpful?
comes to mind, this is a big one. Exercise, move the body. Everything
Yep.
needs to rise together: the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional. You can meditate 12 hours a day, but if you're putting bad food in your body and you're not moving, it's not really going to work. So that would
Mm.
be one. And then I think, again, on a day-to-day basis, anchoring into gratitude, staying present, staying in the now. And also, like, this is what they're sending me: taking a step back, observing. So responding, not reacting to what happens
Yep.
to you. And that's difficult because we operate a lot from the fight or flight mode, the reptilian brain. And a lot of the time people struggle to kind of like be in that space of, like, it requires quite a high level of ego integration to be like, oh, actually, let me just not say anything. Let me just take a step back and think, and ground and whatnot. So something as simple as taking 3 breaths before
Yeah.
responding, before taking 3 breaths and just coming back to yourself. And anyone who practices any kind of mindful exercise will know what a difference something like that can make in your energy field. I think, I saw someone once, and they took a photo of someone, like before doing like breathing exercises and after, and the auric field was completely different and had completely shifted the
Yeah.
frequency of the whole system. So something like that definitely would help.
Yeah, it's amazing the power of breathing, isn't it? And change something that you think is so simple can actually be so beneficial and complex at times, depending on how you do it.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had some of my most powerful activations in breathwork ceremonies.
Yeah. Wow. There you go. Okay. So, I, if you're happy to, we can get into the light language activation for everyone.
Sure, you can close your eyes and start anchoring into the body. As you find your comfortable breathing rhythm, with every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. And as you start to relax the body, the system, the energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness, remembering to listen with your heart. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Sandalphon to steal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, and anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Traya treakiera taka uraya siatiara ia isheta kranie tukura isheratira. Uraya siatakra, opening systems, opening. opening, 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 opening. Raya, 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 raya. Siata kara ishiraya takrena triatri kukara isira takra. Raya tiataki array, 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 ishiraya siata cracking, releasing, 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 opening, releasing, opening, clearing, releasing, 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 letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go, decording, demoving, removing, 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 detangling, 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 clearing, releasing, 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 releasing. Nahia shira taka. Trea treo kumra se sero kora ishira yatari. Expanding, expanding, expanding into more light, divine rays, anchoring, anchoring, anchoring. Anchoring, 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 attuning, 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 grounding, 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 attuning, grounding, attuning, grounding. Attuning and tuning, grounding. Raya trea trea kumara sie sarai seraya tra. Traya takrakt karea tre aishiro. Tashina karaya shira tra. Expanding, expanding, expanding. Expanding into more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 anchoring into cranial structures, clearing, releasing, releasing, releasing. Releasing any limiting beliefs, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. New energies coming in, anchoring, 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 anchoring. Raya siata karai shirayata. Tana trea kiera takrikt karat rukoa tia siatari. Treya nearatra kiata kre asiatre ayai shira sira opening, opening, opening. Expanding, more light, divine rays, aurora rays, rainbow rays, anchoring, 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 tuning, connecting, 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 expanding, 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 expanding systems, tuning, activating blueprint structure, activating dormant DNA, opening, opening, opening to more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 connecting, connecting neurotransmitters, connecting synapses, expanding, 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 cleaning, releasing, 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 nervous system, releasing blood circulation, opening, opening, opening. Rasia takaram. Tratria te kero kuma ise aitia. Tiata iara ishe. Tia nayataka siasa yasera yatra. Trea kia yashia taka nai. Naya reashi ase yasera sara tira krikt kroa triatakra. Anchoring, 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 attuning, tia kura isera yatra. Trana aina aya siatarea treo koa ishiatara trea koa ishiatare tarea siate koa isia. Ruaya ishieta niatara trietaka. Shkura isera yatra trea se grounding, 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 grounding. Closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, attuning, anchoring, anchoring. Anchoring, 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 anchoring. Ntaya ishetara. Taratrea kiet kuraya sie saraya sara tira tara atre shiraya takrat sierra sara ishiraya tara. Shkuro ishira isiraya tara isana isan ia ishira taka. Tiataria kie reatreo koko rasia siata ia ishetaka. As we slowly ground back, coming back to the body and physical vessel. Shikurukuna yatera yasisia eraishe yatakare atrakaraisia easietaka. Remembering the codes are intelligent. They will go where they are needed, when they are needed, at whatever moment in time. Whenever we feel ready, we can open our eyes, come back to the present moment, and anchor back to the now. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah, it's I don't really remember what part it was, but just some sort of stuff you were saying was just smashing my third eye. It was great as it was opening up. So yeah, it was beautiful. I can't get enough of that stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, so it was just like a full system clearing upgrade, releasing all the emotions, solar plexus, sacral, nervous system, blood circulation, third eye, cranial structure. I did some work on the ears as well, release some tension, jaw, neck, shoulders. Again, the codes are smart and intelligent. So For those of you who are listening, you can stay in process after as well, up to 3 weeks for full integration of everything. But in the next day or two, you might feel like you need to eat more, sleep more, rest more. You might get a bit more emotional. We are, also moving through lunar phases as well. So yeah, just be mindful and aware of that.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Obviously, drinking more water and plenty of rest if needs to be. Listen to your body, but absolutely, that is so beautiful. So before you head off on your flight, so what I know that you host a lot of events, a lot of things coming up in your schedule. Is there anything that you want to share with the viewers on what you've got going
Yeah.
on?
So I've got an event coming up on the 9th of September. So for the 9/9 portal opening, it's going to be called Manifestation Magic, taking aligned action to live in the 5D. So I'm going to give a lot of techniques and things to do. And that's going to be online on Zoom. It's going to be about an hour and a half. I'll send some codes for integration as well. And you can find it on my website or through my link tree. I've got a Costa Rica retreat that's happening in November. I've got a few spaces left for that. It's going to be from the 17th to the 22nd, and I think it's over that Thanksgiving holiday. 6 days, 5 nights. So that'll be really beautiful. We're going to be working with the dragons. We're going to be working with some sacred shamanic plant medicine. We're going to be working with the elementals. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be in LA and taking in person in the first week of December as well. So if you're in LA or around the area, you can send me a message, and then I've got very limited time for in person when I'm there. So message me sooner rather than later. And then, I've got next year stuff coming up, but that's next year. I'm still doing my 6-week and 6-month programs. So it's like a crash course on ascension. I basically teach you a whole bunch of stuff, how to open your channel, how to connect to the Akashic records, your galactic history. We can do like clearing and cording. So, I work organically with everyone. So people come to me and they're like, oh, I want to do your program, but I want to focus on my relationship with my parents. Like, we can do that. I work organically with everyone. Offering. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I think it might have cut out for a second then, but I'm back with you.
Yeah, and then I'm almost done. And then I'm still offering my light language activations. And then all my workshops are up on my website. I've got a whole bunch of workshops on releasing attachments, psychic attacks, intrusive thoughts, how to also get more manifestation stuff, higher soul embodiment. Like if you go to my website, there's a lot, but if you need anything, you can just message me through the website. I respond to all my emails, so I don't have like a team, or I've got an assistant, but she doesn't do my emails. I do my own emails. So you're going to be speaking with me directly.
Perfect. So, yes, like Althea said, if you have any questions in regards to this process or what she's got coming up, then by all means, email her. You can catch her at LIGHTCODES by Allah, and that's on Instagram. 70,000 followers, so jump on board. She's incredible human being, obviously, and through her link tree, you can see below there. So, get a hold of her if you need anything or would like to participate in any of her upcoming projects. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a, excuse me, very much memorable experience. Clearly, I'm starting to integrate already. I can't wait to have you back. We're going to be doing more upgrades, so I'd love it if you could come back and share some more time with us. I think it might be back in October when we'll be doing the next one if you're not busy. But yeah, we can talk about it between then and now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. Have an amazing day. Enjoy your flight, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I think what we might do is just have a quick hydration break and go from there. We'll see you with the next facilitator.